This is the Washington Times front page for Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. As the world marks the 6-month anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the fighting is far from over, and the war may be about to enter an entirely new phase. Ben Wolfgang talked with foreign policy observers and military analysts about the conflict, who say there are a host of takeaways from a war that has shattered assumptions of what 21st century ground combat looks like. They include a more unified and nimble NATO, the importance of defending and using drone attacks, and the underestimation of the Ukrainian people and President Volodymyr Zelensky by Russia. President Biden's plan to boost government revenue by adding 87,000 IRS agents is now on a collision course with low recruitment that isn't enough to meet existing staff levels. The recently passed Inflation Reduction Act includes $80 billion to empower the IRS to hire more auditors. Those auditors would bring enforcement against people cheating the tax code, thus boosting government revenue. The IRS has roughly 79,000 employees, so the funding could more than double its enforcement capacity. Yet Jeff Murdoch reports the agency's numbers show it's lost more than 20,000 full-time employees, or about 20% of its workforce, over the past decade. That deficit is expected to increase soon, as an estimated 52,000 of the IRS's 83,000 employees, or 63%, will retire or leave in the next 6 years. The agency's annual attrition rate is 7.3%. Paul Pelosi, the husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, has pleaded guilty to driving under the influence and was sentenced to 5 days in jail and 3 years of probation. Seth MacLachlan reports Pelosi served 2 days in jail and got good behavior credit for another 2 days. As part of the plea deal, he's scheduled to serve 8 hours in the court's work program instead of spending the remaining day in jail. Pelosi also has to attend a 3-month drunk driver class and is required to install an ignition interlock device, along with paying $7,000 in fines. He was arrested in Napa County, California on May 28th. A DUI test showed he had a blood alcohol content of 0.082%, just over the legal limit. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. Sean Salai reports public schools nationwide are relying on classroom assistants, virtual learning, and even military veterans to cover a shortage of teachers and staff as the academic year begins. Alabama is recognizing out-of-state teacher licenses, New Jersey is letting teachers conduct classes virtually from their homes, and Florida is offering temporary teaching credentials to retired veterans and first responders without classroom experience. According to the Florida Education Association, the state has 9,000 teaching vacancies headed into the start of classes. According to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 300,000 teachers and staff quit their jobs from February 2020 through May 2022. Many retiring and departing teachers cited burnout from the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled 2-1 this week that California's law on obstruction of justice doesn't match federal law. Stephen Diner reports that decision affects the criminal case of Fernando Cordero. The Santa Barbara County psychologist is accused of sexually assaulting female patients over the course of multiple years. Cordero was in the U.S. as a legal permanent resident. Judge Barry Moskowitz, writing the majority opinion, said the job of the court is not to focus on the facts of Cordero's case, but rather on deportation law. He said the way California's law is written, someone can be convicted for obstruction of justice even if there's no current or anticipated criminal proceeding and no willful malice involved. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.